Good evening, little ones, and welcome to Big Stories for Big Ears. It's time to settle down and see if tonight's tales can fit in your cute little ears. As always, I've got some really big stories for you, and I'm not sure they'll fit in there. So let's stretch them out and make them bigger, just for a little while, and then we'll get to the stories. Take your hands and gently grab your earlobes. The earlobes are that really soft part at the bottom of your ear. Now very slowly, pull those little earlobes down towards your belly. Remember, be very gentle. Now, move your fingers up a little bit and gently pull the middle part of your ears. Let's grab the very top of our ears and stretch them up towards the tops of our heads. Back to the earlobes now. Gently pull them down. Let's check if your ears are bigger now. Yeah, you did a good job. They need to get a little bigger still. So stretch the top part of your ears one more time. Do you feel that little fold on your ear? Go ahead and roll that out and run your fingers down the edge of the ear, stretching out each part as you go. Very good. I'm sure the stories will fit now. So let's get started. Settle in and enjoy tonight's tales. Our first story tonight is about a big, ugly troll. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled deep within the forests of Sweden, there lived a fearsome troll named Grimwald. Grimwald was a towering creature with gnarled limbs, sharp teeth, and eyes that glowed like burning coals in the darkness. He was a formidable sight to behold, even among trolls. His towering figure stood at least twice as tall as most grown-ups, with broad shoulders that tapered down to sinewy, muscular arms adorned with coarse, dark hair. His skin was a sickly shade of green, mottled with patches of moss and grime that clung to his rough, leathery hide. His face was a grotesque mask with eyes that glowed like embers in the darkness, casting an eerie glow upon his twisted features. Grimwald's hair hung in long, tangled strands around his face, framing a mouth filled with jagged teeth as crooked as old fence posts. His breath, foul and putrid, wafted through the air like a toxic cloud, leaving a trail of noxious fumes in its wake. His massive hands ended in claw-like fingers, each tipped with razor-sharp nails blackened with decades of filth. And when he moved, it was with a grace and agility that belied his monstrous size, his movements swift and silent as he prowled through the shadows of the forest. Grimwald had for years and years roamed the countryside, wreaking havoc wherever he went, terrorizing the villagers and plundering their homes. For as long as he could remember, the villagers lived in fear of Grimwald's wrath, afraid to venture beyond the safety of their homes after nightfall. But one brave farmer named Lars refused to cower in the face of the troll's tyranny. Determined to rid his village of the menace once and for all, Lars devised a cunning plan to outsmart the fearsome creature. One crisp autumn evening, As the moon rose high in the sky and the stars twinkled like diamonds overhead, Lars set his plan into motion. Lars knew that convincing the other villagers to go along with his plan would be no easy task. After all, they had lived in fear of Grimwald for years, and the mere thought of confronting the fearsome troll filled them with dread. But Lars was determined to rid the village of the menace once and for all, and he knew that he would need the help of his fellow villagers to do so. Gathering the villagers in the center of town, Lars stood before them, his voice strong and steady, despite the fear that gnawed at his own heart. "Friends," he began, his words ringing out clear and true in the crisp evening air. "We've lived in fear long enough. Grimwald the troll has terrorized our village for far too long, and it is time for us to stand up to him and drive him out once and for all." At first, the villagers murmured amongst themselves, their faces pale and anxious at the thought of confronting the fearsome troll. But Lars pressed on, his words fueled by a fierce determination to protect his home and his loved ones from harm. "We may be simple farmers and tradesmen," he continued, his voice rising with passion, "but together we're stronger than any monster that dares to threaten us. We have the power to rid our village of Grimwald's tyranny, but only if we stand together and face him as one." Slowly but surely, Lars's words began to resonate with the villagers, stirring something deep within their hearts that had long been dormant. They began to nod in agreement, their fear giving way to a newfound sense of courage and resolve. And so, with Lars leading the way, the villagers banded together, united in their determination to confront Grimwald and drive him out of their village once and for all. For they knew that as long as they stood together, they could overcome any obstacle, no matter how great or fearsome it may be. As Lars rallied the villagers to stand against Grimwald, he knew he needed help to ring the ancient church bells and execute his plan. With a determined gaze, Lars scanned the crowd, searching for individuals who possessed both strength and courage to join him in this crucial task. His eyes settled upon a sturdy man named Eric, known for his unwavering resolve and strong arms from years of working the fields. Lars beckoned Eric forward, clasping his shoulder firmly as he spoke. "Eric, my friend," Lars began, his voice carrying a note of urgency, "I need your strength and steadfastness to help ring the church bells. Will you stand with me against Grimwald?" Eric met Lars's gaze with a resolute nod, his jaw set in determination. "Aye, Lars," he replied, his voice steady and unwavering. "I'll stand with you. Together, we'll drive the troll from our village once and for all." With Eric by his side, Lars turned his attention to the women of the village, seeking a companion who possessed both courage and agility. His eyes alighted upon Astrid, a young woman known for her quick wit and nimble feet, who had often accompanied her father on his travels through the forest. "Astrid," Lars called out, his voice carrying across the crowd, "will you join us in ringing the church bells? Your agility and quick thinking will be invaluable in this task." Astrid stepped forward without hesitation, her chin held high and her eyes blazing with determination. "I will do whatever it takes to rid our village of Grimwald," she declared, her voice ringing clear and strong. "Count me in, Lars." And so, with Eric and Astrid at his side, Lars led the way to the village church, where the ancient bells awaited high in the tower. Together they climbed the narrow staircase that wound its way upwards, each step bringing them closer to their destiny and the confrontation that awaited them with the fearsome troll Grimwald. As Lars, Eric, and Astrid made their way up the winding staircase of the village church, their hearts pounding with anticipation, a chill ran down their spines as they caught sight of a looming figure in the distance. Through the narrow window slits of the tower they glimpsed Grimwald, lumbering towards the village with a menacing gait. His massive form cast a shadow over the forest below, and his eyes gleamed with a malevolent light as he drew closer to the village. Lars's grip tightened on the worn railing as he exchanged a worried glance with Eric and Astrid, knowing that their time was running short. With determination burning in their hearts, they quickened their pace, knowing that they must reach the bells before Grimwald arrived and unleash their plan to rid their village of his tyranny once and for all. With great effort, the trio reached the bell rope well before Grimwald arrived at the first houses at the edge of the village. They rang the bells with all their might, their joyful peals echoing through the night air. As the sound reverberated across the countryside, Lars turned to face Grimwald, who stood frozen in shock and confusion at the sight and sound of the ringing bells. "Behold, Grimwald!" Lars cried out, his voice ringing clear and strong above the clamor of the bells. "These bells have the power to turn any creature to stone. It's said that even trolls such as yourself cannot withstand their holy toll." At Lars's words, Grimwald's eyes widened in terror, and with a roar of fear and rage, he turned and fled into the depths of the forest, never to be seen again. And so the village was finally free from the tyranny of the troll, thanks to the quick thinking and bravery of Lars, Astrid, and Eric. From that day forward, the villagers lived in peace and harmony, secure in the knowledge that they were safe from the wrath of Grimwald and his kind. And the legend of the troll that almost turned to stone was passed down from generation to generation as a reminder of the power of courage and cunning in the face of adversity. Phew! Good thing the troll fell for their trick, huh? Our next story tonight is called Felix's Forest Bond. In the heart of a dense forest, where sunlight danced through the canopy of trees and the scent of pine lingered in the air, there dwelled a sleek black cat named Felix. Felix was a creature of the wild, his amber eyes gleaming with the wisdom of the forest. He roamed the moss-covered paths and leapt effortlessly from branch to branch, his fur blending seamlessly with the shadows. In the forest, Felix loved to have fun and find food. He would sneak around the trees, jumping and chasing leaves and sticks. His shiny fur helped him blend into the bushes, making him great at hiding in the shadows. But when the sun was going down or just waking up, Felix turned into a serious hunter. He would tiptoe quietly, listening for any tiny sounds of animals moving. When he spotted something like a mouse or rabbit, he would leap into action. With a big jump and a quick swipe of his claws, he would catch his dinner. But Felix wasn't mean. He only caught what he needed to eat. He knew it was important to keep the balance in the forest and to respect the other animals who lived there. In the forest, Felix was a playful friend and a skillful hunter, showing how animals can live in harmony with nature. Despite his solitary nature, Felix was not immune to curiosity. One day, while prowling through the underbrush, he stumbled upon a clearing where a small boy played amidst a bed of wildflowers. The boy, named Marcus, had tousled blonde hair and eyes that sparkled with mischief. Marcus was having a blast. He climbed trees, jumped over streams, and tried to catch little frogs hopping around. He was so busy having fun that he didn't notice Felix watching him from afar. Felix was curious about this energetic boy. He quietly followed Marcus as he played, staying hidden in the bushes. Felix was amazed at how nimble and adventurous Marcus was, hopping around like a little frog himself. Marcus continued his playful antics, unaware of Felix's presence. But as Marcus leaped over a fallen log, he finally spotted the amber eyes peering out from the shadows. Marcus's face lit up with excitement. "Hello there, little kitty," Marcus called out, reaching out his hand in friendship. Felix, intrigued by Marcus's friendly gesture, cautiously approached. Soon they were playing together, chasing each other through the forest and sharing in the joy of discovery. As the sun began its descent behind the trees, casting a warm golden glow across the forest, Marcus and Felix realized that it was time to say goodbye for the day. They had spent the entire day exploring, playing, and forging a deep bond of friendship. Marcus knelt down beside Felix, his hands gently caressing the cat's sleek fur. "It's getting late, Felix," Marcus said softly. His voice tingled with sadness. "I have to go home now." Felix blinked up at Marcus, his amber eyes reflecting the fading light. He understood that their time together was coming to an end, but it didn't make saying goodbye any easier. "I'll see you again tomorrow, right?" Marcus asked, a hopeful smile playing on his lips. Felix gave a small nod, his tail flicking back and forth in silent agreement. He couldn't bear the thought of parting ways with his newfound friend, even if it was only for the night. With a heavy heart, Marcus reluctantly stood up and began to make his way home, his footsteps echoing softly through the forest. Felix watched him go, his gaze lingering on Marcus's retreating figure until he disappeared from sight. Alone in the fading light, Felix felt a pang of loneliness wash over him, but as he listened to the gentle rustle of the leaves and the distant calls of the forest creatures, he knew that their friendship would endure, no matter how far apart they may be. And so, with a silent promise to meet again tomorrow, Felix turned and disappeared into the shadows, his heart filled with the hope of another day spent in the company of his beloved friend Marcus. As the evening settled in the forest, Felix began to search for a cozy spot to rest his weary body. He prowled through the underbrush, his keen eyes scanning the surroundings for the perfect place to settle down for the night. After a while, Felix found a secluded hollow beneath the roots of a towering oak tree. It was sheltered from the cool night breeze and lined with a soft bed of moss and fallen leaves. With a contented purr, Felix curled up in the snug hollow, his fur warm against the earth. As he closed his eyes, the sounds of the forest enveloped him like a comforting blanket. The gentle rustle of leaves, the soft chirping of crickets, and the distant hoot of an owl. With each breath, Felix felt himself sinking deeper into slumber, his dreams filled with the memories of his adventures with Marcus. And so, nestled in his cozy haven beneath the oak tree, Felix drifted off to sleep, his heart filled with the warmth of friendship and the promise of another day in the enchanting embrace of the forest. The next day, Felix woke up feeling excited. He remembered the fun he had with Marcus the day before, climbing trees and chasing bugs. He stretched his legs and yawned, eager for another adventure. But as the sun climbed higher in the sky, Felix grew restless. He kept looking toward the edge of the forest, hoping to see Marcus bounding through the trees. He pawed at the ground and paced back and forth, his tail twitching with impatience. "Felix, where are you going?" a squirrel asked, watching Felix's pacing. "I'm waiting for Marcus," Felix replied eagerly. "He's my friend, you see." The squirrel nodded understandingly and scurried off to gather nuts, leaving Felix to continue his vigil. Hours passed, and still there was no sign of Marcus. Felix's excitement began to wane, replaced by a sense of disappointment. He couldn't understand why Marcus hadn't come to play yet. But just as Felix was about to give up hope, he heard a familiar voice calling his name. He perked up, his ears swiveling in the direction of the sound, and there, bounding through the underbrush, with a grin on his face, was Marcus. "Felix, I'm here!" Marcus exclaimed, rushing forward to greet his furry friend. Felix's heart soared with joy as he raced to meet Marcus, his impatience forgotten in the warmth of their reunion. Together once again, they embarked on another day of adventure in the magical world of the forest, their bond stronger than ever before. Soon they were chasing each other through the forest, laughing as they darted between trees and scampered over rocks. From that day forward, Felix and Marcus became inseparable companions. They explored every corner of the forest together, sharing secrets whispered beneath the rustling leaves. Marcus would tell Felix tales of the world beyond the trees, of towering cities and vast oceans, while Felix treated Marcus to stories of ancient forest lore. As the seasons changed and the days grew colder, Marcus began to worry about Felix facing the harsh winter alone. With a heavy heart, he broached the subject one crisp autumn evening as they sat by a crackling fire. "Felix, my friend," Marcus began tentatively, "would you like to come live with me? In my cozy home, I mean, where you'll always have food and warmth." Felix blinked, his amber eyes reflecting the flickering flames. He'd grown fond of Marcus and the comforts of their shared adventures, but the call of the wild still sang in his veins. "I appreciate your offer, Marcus," Felix replied softly. "But I am a creature of the forest. My home is here among the trees and the stars." Marcus nodded understandingly, though a hint of sadness lingered in his eyes. He knew he couldn't force Felix to leave his beloved forest behind. The winter descended with a blanket of snow, but Felix continued to visit Marcus, curling up by the fire on cold nights and sharing in the warmth of their friendship. And though Felix remained a creature of the wild, the bond between him and Marcus only grew stronger with each passing day. Because Felix had found in Marcus not just a friend, but a kindred spirit, one who understood the untamed beauty of the forest and the magic that dwelled within its depths. And as long as the forest thrived, so too would their friendship endure, a testament to the enduring bond between a boy and his wild companion named Felix. That story made me feel so cozy and warm. What about you? Do you have any animal friends? Our last tale tonight features a sweet baby elephant. Once upon a time, in the vast golden savanna, there was a joyful herd of elephants. They roamed freely under the warm African sun, their trunks swinging happily as they journeyed through the grasslands. In the savanna, the world stretched out wide and open like a big, endless blanket of golden grass. The sun painted everything in warm colors, making the land glow with a golden light. Tall trees stood proudly, their branches reaching high into the sky, providing shade and shelter for all kinds of creatures. Animals big and small roamed freely across the savanna, their coats shimmering in the sunlight. Elephants trumpeted happily as they wandered, while giraffes gracefully nibbled leaves from the tallest trees. Zebras trotted in playful herds, their stripes like a beautiful pattern painted by nature itself. Birds filled the air with their songs, soaring high above the ground. Lions, the kings and queens of the savanna, basked in the sun, their majestic presence felt by all who shared this vast land. At night, the savanna came alive with a different kind of magic. The sky became a canvas filled with twinkling stars, and the air was filled with the sounds of nocturnal creatures going about their business under the watchful gaze of the moon. Among this herd of elephants was a young little elephant named Kido. Kido was the smallest of the herd, but he had the biggest heart. He loved to play with his friends, splashing in the water holes and chasing butterflies. Kido and his friends played lots of fun games on the savanna. Sometimes they would chase each other through the tall grass, their trunks held high in excitement. Other times they played hide and seek among the trees, taking turns to hide behind big rocks or bushes. One of their favorite games was splashing in the water holes. They would gather around, spraying water with their trunks and rolling in the mud, giggling with joy. They also loved to test their strength by playfully pushing against each other, their tusks locked in friendly battles. When the sun was high in the sky, they enjoyed taking naps together under the shade of the trees. They would snuggle close, feeling the warmth of the earth beneath them and listening to the gentle sounds of the savannah. No matter what game they played, Keto and his friends always had the most fun when they were together, their laughter echoing across the golden grasslands of the savannah. One day, as they wandered across the savannah, Keto began to feel a little unwell. His usually lively steps slowed, and he seemed tired. His friends noticed his droopy ears and the way he lagged behind the rest of the herd. "Mama, something's not right with Keto," said Tembo, one of Keto's closest friends, to his mother, Mama Lulu, with concern in his voice. Mama Lulu immediately went to Keto's side, her trunk gently caressing his forehead. "You're burning up, little one," she said softly. "Let's find some shade and rest." With the guidance of Mama Lulu, the herd gathered around Keto, forming a protective circle. They found a cool spot under the shade of a baobab tree, where Keto could rest comfortably. When Keto fell ill, his friends knew just how to cheer him up. They gathered around him, their gentle eyes full of concern and love. Tembo, his closest friend, nuzzled him softly with his trunk, offering comfort. Others brought him fresh leaves and cool water, placing them gently beside him. They stayed close, their presence like a warm blanket of friendship. Even though Keto felt weak and tired, their kindness lifted his spirits. Sometimes they would sit quietly beside him, sharing stories of their adventures on the savannah. They reminisced about the games they played and the fun they had together. Their words were like little rays of sunshine, chasing away the clouds of sickness that hung over Keto. They made sure he never felt alone, staying by his side through the day and into the night. And as Keto slowly started to feel better, their gentle cheers turned into joyous trumpets of celebration. With their love and care, Keto knew he was never alone, even in his weakest moments. And as he recovered, he cherished the bond he shared with his friends even more, grateful for their unwavering support on the vast African savannah. The older members of the herd stood guard and protected the little ones from any harm, but they also provided entertainment. One of them, Keto's own grandmother, had been around for longer than Keto could even imagine, and she told him this tale. Once upon a time, in the heart of the African savannah, there stood a mystical tree of enormous proportions. It was said that this tree, known as the Great Baobab, had roots that reached deep into the earth and branches that touched the sky. Legend has it that the Great Baobab was not just any tree, but a guardian of the savannah, watching over all who lived there with wisdom and grace. Its trunk was wide and gnarled, adorned with intricate carvings that told the stories of the land. The tale of the great Baobab began many, many moons ago, when the first elephants roamed the savannah. They sought refuge under its vast canopy, finding shade from the scorching sun and shelter from the raging storms. As generations passed, the great Baobab became a symbol of strength and unity for all creatures of the savannah. Animals would gather beneath its branches to share news, celebrate victories, and seek guidance in times of trouble. But as the years went by, the great Baobab began to wither and fade. Its leaves turned brown and its branches grew brittle. The animals of the savannah watched in sorrow as their beloved guardian started to crumble before their eyes. Determined to save the great Baobab, the elephants, led by the wisest matriarchs, embarked on a journey to find the mystical waters rumored to possess healing powers. Through vast deserts and dense jungles, they traveled, facing many challenges along the way. Finally, after a long and arduous journey, they reached the hidden oasis where the mystical waters flowed. With great reverence, they collected the sacred water and carried it back to the savannah, their hearts filled with hope. With tender care and unwavering determination, they poured the mystical waters around the roots of the great Baobab, whispering prayers for its revival. And miraculously, as if touched by divine magic, the tree began to blossom once more. The great Baobab's branches stretched high into the sky, its leaves vibrant and green. The animals of the savannah rejoiced, knowing that their guardian had been saved from the brink of oblivion. From that day forward, the great Baobab stood tall and proud, a beacon of hope and resilience for all who dwelled in the vast African savannah. And the tale of its miraculous revival was passed down through generations, reminding all who heard it of the power of unity, determination, and the enduring magic of the natural world. When Kido's grandmother finished her tale, all the little elephants in the herd were still staring at her, their eyes wide open as they listened carefully to every word. Days passed, and Kido's fever began to subside, thanks to the care of his herd. They watched over him tirelessly, ensuring he had everything he needed to get better. As Kido recovered from his illness, his friends played gentle games with him to help him feel better. They didn't want to tire him out too much, so they chose activities that were calming and easy. One of their favorite games was simply walking together through the savannah, side by side. They strolled slowly, enjoying the warmth of the sun on their backs and the cool breeze rustling through the grass. Sometimes they would play a game of trunk wrestling, where they gently wrapped their trunks around each other and pushed back and forth. It was a way to strengthen their bonds of friendship while also being careful not to exert too much energy. Another game they enjoyed was playing with soft leaves and twigs, tossing them gently back and forth between each other. They laughed as the leaves danced through the air, their movements light and playful. And when Keto felt up to it, they would gather by the water hole and splash around together, taking turns spraying water with their trunks and rolling in the mud. It was a refreshing way to cool off and have fun without overexerting themselves. No matter the game they played, Keto's friends always made sure to be gentle and considerate of his recovery. They knew that spending time together and sharing moments of joy was the best medicine for their dear friend. Eventually, Keto was back to his old self, trumpeting happily as he frolicked with his friends in the golden grass. The herd rejoiced, knowing that their care and love had helped their little friend recover. From that day on, Keto's bond with his herd grew even stronger. They knew that no matter what challenges they faced, they would always stand together, ready to care for one another with kindness and compassion on the vast African savanna. As the night approached and the sun dipped low in the sky, the herd made a special decision. They decided to spend one last night under the comforting branches of the Baobab tree before continuing their journey in the morning. Slowly and carefully they gathered together beneath the spreading canopy of the tree. They formed a close-knit circle, the older elephants encircling the younger ones protectively. The air was filled with a sense of peace and tranquility as they settled in for the night. As darkness fell, the sounds of the savanna filled the air. Crickets chirped softly in the distance, and the gentle rustle of leaves whispered in the wind. The older elephants hummed low, a soothing melody that echoed through the night. One by one, they closed their eyes, feeling the soft earth beneath them and the cool night air on their skin. They listened to the calming rhythm of each other's breathing, a gentle symphony that lulled them into a deep and restful sleep. Under the watchful gaze of the stars above, the herd slept soundly, knowing that they were safe and together. And as they dreamt beneath the sprawling branches of the baobab tree, they felt a deep sense of contentment, grateful for the bond they shared and the beauty of the savanna that surrounded them. Good night, little ones. Sleep tight.